What's up, guys? As you can tell by the little quick intro shot there, that we're putting a Redhead steering gear on the Fummins this weekend. Pretty excited. I have a ton of play in my current steering box, and I've replaced all the tie rods and everything else when I did the ball joints and stuff like that. So I figured while I'm here, might as well do a nice upgraded steering box for this truck, eliminate all that steering slop, and just put in a whole lot better unit anyway than the current factory setup that I have. Along with the steering gear box, since we're going to be in there anyway, I have a Borgeson steering shaft on the way, and that'll be here today as well. So we're going to go ahead and put both those parts in, and hopefully it goes well. Alright guys, so this is straight from Redhead out of Washington there. I ordered it, I want to say like Tuesday, and it was here Thursday afternoon, so super quick turnaround time from the guys at Redhead. They do charge you a core charge. They have to send your old power steering gearbox back, which makes sense. They completely modify and change a bunch of the stuff inside of these steering gearboxes and really help make the gearbox a lot better than the factory ones. They change some of the sealing and stuff like that. Super cool setup, so let's get unboxing here. It's really well packaged. They do a box and then another box to help hold it in, and then inside that box we get another box, and inside that box you get your steering gear box. And there's the unit right there. You guys can see it. So this is the Redhead unit right here. Now these guys adjust everything and get it set perfectly from the factory there. They got a bunch of test benches and stuff that they do. And do not mess with that. It'll absolutely void your warranty. They even give you a note saying that. Now depending on what year you have, I have a 97 Ford, and in both those years you can have a 4 or a 2-bolt cover. So you got to know what you have before you order. And then it also may have different spline counts, so you got to pay attention to that as well. It'll just depend. If you have any questions, you can call these guys up and they will absolutely answer your questions, no problem. I went with shipping both ways so that they are flat rate. So when I ship the core back, it's already ready to go. You got to send it back in the boxes with the plugs installed on the fittings. So I'll take you guys over to the truck real quick and show you kind of where my play is at. If you'll be able to see here, I'll try and zoom you in. You can see the rag joint there, and you can see when I move the shaft, see how much play is at the actual steering gear there instead of the rag joint like normal. So that's why we're changing it out. Also, sometimes the steering shaft, this is a slip joint between two metal pieces, and sometimes this inner joint has like a little metal spring tab in it that will wear out, and you'll actually get play in that too. You'll also get play in the rag joint, but we're eliminating this whole factory steering shaft by going to that Borgeson, so I'll show you guys that later as well. Okay, pretty simple setup to remove and install the new one. We got two lines we got to take off. Try and get a visual for you. Right there. So power steering in, return back to the pump, and then off the bottom you got to take the pitman arm loose. So not too much to it, and then there's 3 mounting bolts. So we're just gonna get this done here as quick as we can. Okay guys, so right now we got it. The steering shaft disconnected from the upper side of the gearbox. We still got to pull in 2 lines. We've been working on it about 10 minutes. And then down here we took the steering arm off, and then now we're going to remove the pitman arm. So this nut was a 1 5/16", which actually is metric, but I think I'm not sure what that size translates to metric. But I went and grabbed an O'Reilly's rental pitman arm puller, so we'll get that rigged up and this pulled off. Pull them couple lines and we'll start pulling the box off. Pretty easy. What's up, guys? Alright, so we got the power steering gearbox out of the truck. It wasn't too bad. The pitman arm was rusted on there, which we kind of expected. I ended up having to run to work and get a few more tools. Grabbed my air hammer and I grabbed some heat, and I used that pitman arm tool to just put some pressure on it with a little, after I heated it, and just started tapping it down little by little and kept tightening up that puller. And eventually we got her worked off. That was the worst part of doing this whole thing so far. We're gonna swap the lines around, or the fittings, off the old pump onto the new pump. I have some custom fittings just due to my setup not being actually stock. Redhead did send me new O-rings and everything, so super awesome that they did that. I didn't have to worry about sourcing those. I didn't even think about it, but when they were in the box I was like, perfect, that's awesome. So for their warrant for their core return and everything, they request that you drain the power steering gearbox out and then reinstall the plugs that they send on the new one. They also put some bolts in it for saving the threads. Like I said, I'm just gonna uninstall those bolts, put them in the old one so that they get those bolts back as well. So I'll show you here what I'm talking about. So here's the new pump. These 3 bolts they put in as thread savers. Those are going to go back into the old one. I got the old one draining here, and I'm going to get as much fluid out as I can, because if fluid leaks out of the box or anything, UPS will absolutely reject shipping it and bring it back. So we don't want that, and also they request that, so I will absolutely do that for them. Well guys, the timing today has worked out perfectly. The Borgeson steering shaft just showed up right after I got the new steering gear back into the truck. We still got to hook up the lines and everything. We're going to take a minute here and finish putting in the new steering shaft. So we're going to unbox it and take a look here. Okay, so here's the new Borgeson shaft. The part number they told me to go with was a 00981. And like I said, I got this from Summit. Above it, this is the factory one. Standard rag joint, slip joint, and then there's a small U-joint section up here that I took off to get the boot out. But this is the aftermarket double U-joint on both sides. Nice heavy duty unit. Should be a huge improvement. So we're going to get this put back in real quick, and then we'll finish putting the steering box back together. Alright guys, just real quick on how to get the steering shaft out, seeing as I didn't really film any of it. There's not a lot of room, but this is up underneath your column. There's a through bolt right here that holds it to the column. Pull all that all the way out. The shaft will collapse, and then you do the same at the steering gear. Another through bolt, 13 mil head on mine. Gear mileage may vary. You just pull that out, loosen that off the shaft. No big deal. And then there's 3 bolts holding the boot on underneath the column in the cab. You just do those. Those were 10 mils. Take those off, and it slides out through the cab. So just kind of gotta jiggle it out, and then that new one went in really easy. Reverse order of the install. It does come with instructions if you don't know what to do and how to get it on. They use set screws and lock nuts to hold those in place. Super easy install. Took me about 10 minutes. No big deal. I'll see if I can get you a better picture of what that looks like in there. So here we're at the front of the truck. You can see that nice new beefy U-joint. That nice new beefy shaft all the way into the cab. Should be a real good unit. Should be overall a real good upgrade for this. Didn't add a whole lot of time to the project. Well worth the extra. I think it was 300 bucks through Summit and free shipping. So well worth it if you're in this far. A stock version from Napa ran about 500 bucks for that steering shaft, and this one is a lot better. So save yourself money. Get the upgraded version. These Borgeson shafts are awesome. Their customer service is awesome. I asked them which shaft I needed just to make sure, due to my ear being kind of weird, and they were back to me within the next day. Had it ordered, no big deal. So super easy. Well guys, we've got that Redhead steering gearbox all installed into the truck. All the lines were hooked up, and we already did the first set of bleeding. And Redhead sends you instructions on how to bleed that steering gearbox and make sure that there's no air in it. The second stage, you have to run the engine and re-bleed, make sure it doesn't run out of fluid or anything like that. Make sure that you don't have any weight on the tires if you have your pitman hooked up to the steering. I left it all loose just till all of that's bled out. I had to get my truck back to runnable before doing that, so that's what we're waiting on. But I have no doubt that the steering gearbox will work perfectly as intended, and if not, I know that they will take care of me, so I'm not too worried about it. The core is all ready and packaged, ready to go back to them. The steering shaft is all installed. It's going to be awesome to have steering without a ton of slop. I've never had that before in the life of owning this truck. So I look forward to testing it all out and enjoying driving it. And thanks for watching the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the subscribe button. Got a lot more content to come. Thanks for watching.